You got to work on it in interviews. You go on long tangents. No, that was deliberate. Okay. It's not just the interview. You need to understand. There are moments when I do that. There are moments when I don't do that. I'm not trying to do. This wasn't one of those instances. There's a reason why I did what I did. Okay. There's a reason why I did what I did. That is not an interview. There's a conversation. It's different. I need to also maybe rebrand it as something. Like maybe I'll do a interview segment and sometimes I'll do a conversation segment. You know what I mean? Okay. EKH3 when? What the fuck is that? There is no way that in perhaps one of the most important news days of the year, you are not embarrassed to ask me right on the heels of me fucking interviewing a goddamn congressperson about drama shit. What the fuck is wrong with you, chatter? Are you for real? My bad, didn't think you'd see it. Why'd you at me then? It's like, yeah, tariffs are destroying the global markets and all, but can you talk to me about Ethan Klein? That's crazy. You should be a little bit, at least a little bit embarrassed to say that, like right here. Stop talking about Ethan. Are you telling me that, or are you telling the chatter that? Trump talking about President Xi like a bitter old ex. Let's hear what he had to say.
People have talked about it for years, but I have a lot of respect for China and I have a lot of respect for President Xi.
When's the last time you talked to President Xi?
I speak to him. Doesn't matter when, but I speak to him.
Have you talked to Zelensky recently?
Doesn't matter when, but I'll speak to him.
Not too long ago, yeah.
What do you think about the Zoran response? I think it's a mistake, but he's worked with Brad for years. He's known him for 10 years. And I think he just like went after his, went after to endorse his friend or someone that he knows. I don't think he has any sort of like antagonism towards Zoran Mamdani, but I do think that this is a time where Democratic Party leadership should probably, like the progressive wing of the Democratic Party should definitely get a guy with less name recognition who still simultaneously, due to incredible ground game and incredible policies that they identify with, has been able to make a name for himself in such a short period of time. I think it's important for national Democrats with national presence to endorse him. AOC, Bernie Sanders, and the like. And I hope they do that. I hope they endorse him. Because the reality of the matter is, like, he is literally the leading contender right now after fucking Andrew Cuomo. We'll get to the Republican hogwatch in a second, by the way. I'm going to pee real quick.
Canada will respond to the U.S. auto tariffs. And today I'm announcing that the government of Canada will be responding by matching the U.S. approach, with 25% tariffs on all vehicles imported from the United States that are not compliant with CUSMA, our North American Free Trade Agreement. And on the non-Canadian content of CUSMA-compliant vehicles from the United States as well. Our tariffs, though, unlike the U.S. tariffs, will not affect auto parts because we know the benefits of our integrated production system. And they will also not affect vehicle content from Mexico, who is respecting the CUSMA agreement. And as well, we are developing a framework for auto producers in Canada to get relief from these counter tariffs as long as they maintain their production and investment in our country. Importantly, every single dollar raised from those counter tariffs, our counter tariffs, which could reach around $8 billion before remission, will go directly to our auto workers and the companies affected by those tariffs. And that's on top of a $2 billion fund we announced last week to build a made-in-Canada auto sector, a fund that a new Liberal government would implement should we be elected.
And in response to 25% tariffs President Trump put into effect on foreign cars and car parts, automaker Stellantis announced a pause on production at some of its Canadian and Mexican assembly plants. And as a result, some temporary layoffs at the company's plants in Michigan and Indiana. Detroit's car companies are already making changes in response to President Trump's new tariffs on the auto industry. Starting Monday, Stellantis will shut down its Windsor assembly plant for 2 weeks. The factory makes the Chrysler Pacifica minivan and similar models.
President Trump's auto tariffs are here, and that means
A 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
but no car, not even a US-built Ford F-150, is 100% US made.
Yep.
Just look inside.
It's made up of thousands and thousands of parts. Those parts come from over 24 different countries.
Countries like Mexico, Canada, Romania. Trump wants these parts to say made in the US. But moving all of this is not so simple.
To lift and shift that whole thing, that's kind of like saying, oh, pick up the state of Maine and move it over to Wyoming. Could you do it? I suppose you could, but man, it would be tough duty.
So let's break it down to understand what Trump is trying to do with a slew of new tariffs and why automakers are warning it could backfire. This chart shows where cars sold in the US are coming from. All of these cars now face that 25% auto tariff. But this 53% of US-made cars is also affected by that tariff because of all of those foreign parts.
Some of the major components, this is for the Ford F-150. They have an alternator, create current. It's from Mexico. We have half shafts. These deliver torque to the wheels from the driveline. They're from Canada. We have tires, of course, 5 of them. These come from Korea. Of course, you have to have wheels. In this case, a styled, attractive wheels. These all come from Mexico.
Those tires from South Korea would face that auto tariff and any reciprocal or universal tariff placed on the country. Those parts from Canada and Mexico, well, that's where it gets more complicated. Eventually, they would face that auto tariff, any reciprocal or universal tariff, and an additional Mexico-Canada tariff. But the White House said parts compliant with the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Trade Agreement, or USMCA, remain tariff-free until there is a process to apply tariffs to their non-U.S. content. And for some parts, like a transmission, there will be a lot of content to consider.
When you realize what goes into an automatic transmission, that's what this is. And so you can see this plethora of parts, gears and seals, springs, fasteners, valves, and shafts, all these different parts. They can come from different suppliers, and those suppliers can be located pretty much anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Take a look at this map showing how Canadian manufacturer
This is what I've been trying to
Linamar creates
explain.
transmissions for the U.S. market today.
This was what I was trying to explain in terms of this is also not inefficient, just pay labor. Dude. at its most basic level of comprehension, you need to understand something. There's just simply shit. This is so inefficient just to not pay labor. No, some of this is directly done to offset some of the cost to a cheaper labor site to a different country. Some of it is not. Like, what are you supposed to do? There's certain parts of the production line that need like raw materials that you just don't have here, for example. It's not always done specifically to it's not always done specifically because like they want to, I mean, it's always done to offset the cost. But some of that is not done to offset the labor cost, if that makes sense. Understand?
today. It takes 7 border crossings before that part is in a car being sold in the US.
Yep.
These 3 crossings into the US would eventually face Trump's tariffs. And even if the manufacturing of all of this was moved into the US, this part, the raw steel, would still be subject to Trump's 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum.
This is going to be disruptive on day one. It's going to increase the cost of doing business.
The total amount depends on the vehicle. A Cox Automotive estimate shows a car made in the US would incur $3,000 in cost from the Canada-Mexico tariffs, plus another $3,000 from the tariffs on foreign-made auto parts. Then research shows an added $400 for the steel and aluminum tariffs, and more for any reciprocal or universal tariffs.
Have you heard any concerns from the automakers, though, about the tariffs on parts that will go into effect over the coming weeks, about what that's going to mean for the price of
Well, I gave them a
American-made
big
cars?
break for a month. I didn't charge them anything, for a big month, for that first month. And they brought a lot of material into this country because they could bring it in without tariff.
But eventually, added production costs
That's literally
could change
just
what
short-
cars buyers see on dealer lots.
You can see
That's just literally the most short-term solution to a problem that you're creating of all time. Oh, great. They bought 1 month's worth of supplies in. Is so fucking stupid. I'm sure they brought more than 1 month's worth of supply, but it's like, okay, why are you doing it then? This is what I don't understand. Not every aspect of this production is sent overseas because American labor is too expensive. You need to understand that as well. And the parts that are actually sent to other countries, ironically enough, Trump also advocated for with the USMCA.
see a stop in production of a number of vehicles, some of which are very important to some of the automakers.
Trump's goal, however, is to pressure automakers to make them in the US instead.
This is going to lead to the construction of a lot of plants.
And the White House said the duties on Canada and Mexico are also meant to disrupt the drug trade.
We've lost millions of people due to fentanyl. It comes mostly from China, but it comes through Mexico and it comes through Canada.
The trade group representing Ford, GM, and Stellantis said it's critical that tariffs are done in a way that preserves the competitiveness of the North American auto sector. North American is the key there. Because of the Trump-negotiated USMCA and NAFTA before it, automakers have essentially viewed these countries as borderless.
We have really built the industry around that free trade zone that's existed for so long.
It's why Mexico and Canada exported about $75 billion in passenger cars and more than $100 billion in auto parts to the US last year. So shrinking supply chains to just the US?
If you had to move production of a vehicle or even a complex system like an engine, a transmission, an axle, and you're making that in Canada or you're making that in Mexico and you just want to move the plant, that could be years.
Analysts say even shifting a foreign-made part to a US supplier can take months.
We have well-established, very detailed testing plans for every component on a vehicle, and we don't get to skip those just because we might want to or it might be easy, right? Because it's a safety and quality issue. It costs money and it costs lives when we get those things wrong.
So either choice, moving production or facing the tariffs, come with added costs, some of which economists say will be passed on to consumers. That will push up already elevated car prices. This could then tamp down demand and slow production.
If there's less production, there'll be less demand for workers in the North American auto industry. Even before you get the cut in profitability, there'll probably be a push for more labor-saving investment in U.S. production to try to compensate for the increased costs elsewhere in the production process.
That labor-saving investment, analysts say, will come in the form of automation.
When you move production to the U.S., you do it, because you need to be close, but it doesn't necessarily bring a lot of jobs with it. It brings a lot of automation.
But the United Auto Workers Union applauded Trump's tariff on foreign autos, adding it's now on the automakers to bring back good union jobs to the U.S. To make investments months or years into the future, Automakers need
certainty and stability. Just, they want it to be clear what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and why it's going to happen.
But automakers are still waiting for clarity on the extent and application of the various tariffs, especially after the pause and then temporary exemption from the Mexico-Canada tariffs.
The uncertainty of whether and how long these tariffs will stick around is creating real dollars waste in terms of warehousing and trucking, and call it soft waste, wasted time, wasted energy, wasted attention that could be better deployed building and designing the next vehicle, the next system.
That time spent debating if this alternator should continue to come from Mexico or this crossbeam from Canada is to some a distraction from the larger disruptors in the industry, namely the fast-moving Chinese competition. China is now the world's largest vehicle exporter.
Very tumultuous time in the industry, for sure. Things are changing faster than they ever did before. And at the end of the day, you have to remember, it's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow. And so, whatever you are, don't be the slowest. Move quickly.
President Trump speaking aboard.
Oh my God. Amazing. I can't wait to hear what Greg Buttfeld has to say.
Americans. A tariff isn't paid by the exporter. China's not going to pay the tariff. The buyer is going to pay the tariff.
Donald Trump has proposed a 40% tariff, which is a tax on all of you. I think raising your taxes by 40% would kill jobs all across this country.
I have never agreed with the president's tariff policy, and that's why I do call him and I say, Mr. President, I need to talk to you about these tariffs. And he will come back and he'll say, oh, Joni, I know that you don't like tariffs, but I'm a tariff guy.
Taxing European car imports hurts BMW because they can do the same thing to us. China wins when we fight with Europe. China wins when the American consumer has higher prices because of tariffs that don't affect Chinese behavior.
Now with a 10% tariff laid down, who pays that tariff? The American workers and the American companies pay the brunt of all those. So far, Americans have paid $12 billion in tariffs. It's not punishing the Chinese, it's punishing us.
You know, the highest tariff levels in the history of this country, the Smoot-Hawley tariffs, were enacted, and it shut down.
You know what I fucking hate about this? Why couldn't Trump do this for another thing that conservatives hate that would be beneficial in the short term or certainly in the long term for American workers? Like, why did it have to be this where he gets to dominate them and bully them and tell them to shut the fuck up? I hate that. Like, this feels like Trump could be like, I want to do universal health care. And these guys would be like, that's communism. Turning around and being like, this is actually great, Mr. President. These are all the Republicans who understandably are insanely anti-tariff. Now, you might be wondering, Hasan, didn't you, or you might not be wondering. This will help you better understand why I'm not immediately anti-tariff. These guys want super profits for corporations. Those super profits can only be maintained through American imperialism and the subsequent quote-unquote free trade negotiations that take place. Low-cost sites exist inside of the United States of America, but the Global South is basically a universal low-cost site across the board because the most malleable aspect of commodity production that can become more efficient, as in reduced, is the labor side. And the most effective method of lowering labor prices, lowering wages, is by shipping them overseas. In the past, countries didn't allow for that sort of thing. For understandable reason, because why the fuck would you sell out your entire labor force? These guys hate tariffs, or until, Trump bullied them into submission, basically, because their goal is to maintain those super profits for corporations. They're fucking assholes. So make no mistake. I'm not anti-tariff. I'm not anti-tariff at all. I am in favor of trade protectionist policies. Having said that, however, I do not believe that Donald Trump will actually engage in trade protectionist policies, because that would require him to actually forcibly build manufacturing in this country. That would require a tremendous amount of public funds to be expended in the process. That would require Donald Trump, especially to do it in a pro-labor way, to make sure that these new factories that are being built would have to have union employees. This is something that even the Biden administration didn't do, by the way, with the fucking CHIPS Act and with Build Back Better. Even the Brandon administration didn't enforce American companies to only hire unionized workforces. Makes no sense.
World trade. There's little doubt that these protectionist barriers that were put up in 1930 or 31 made the Great Depression worse. So let's not repeat that mistake.
I hope that our administration is looking at ways to expand and grow opportunities for American businesses and farmers and ranchers, and not get us into this tit-for-tat trade war with some of these countries, even China.
A generalized tariff that would actually harm allies, harm American consumers, by the way. And again, if we start engaging in trade wars, I just don't believe anybody wins a trade war, quite honestly. I just think there's so much collateral damage. I think it's a very risky and dangerous strategy.
I'm much more of a free trader. I have worry about retaliation against our products that certainly we have a lot of in Wyoming. So I'm focused on the businesses here at home, the impact of trade, and the impact of tariffs, which I have concerns about, and specifically the retaliation that may come as a result of this new announcement.
Strong trade relationships, particularly with Canada and Mexico, are primary drivers of our nation's economy. We must protect those relationships and be careful as we consider changes in our approach to trade, to be certain that Americans continue to benefit from the economic opportunities that have created by a strong trade policy.
I'm just so jealous. I'm so incredibly jealous. I hate that Trump gets to do this and do it in the wrong direction too. And you still have these strong right-wing institutions defending him every step of the fucking way. Even if his popularity diminishes. Let's hear from Harry Enton on how unpopular these policies will look like.
Harry, the press secretary criticized the people she calls the naysayers when it comes to these tariffs. Who are the naysayers?
The naysayers are the majority of the American public. It's the American people who are the naysayers. Oppose new tariffs on other countries. All goods, look at this, 56% of Americans oppose new tariffs on all goods. How about cars in particular? 56% of Americans oppose new tariffs on imported cars and car parts. Look, the bottom line is the American people oppose. No, no, no. They do not want new tariffs. I looked at a ton of polling. It's really hard to find any in which you find folks supporting new tariffs, maybe against China, but against all our other countries, especially our allies, no, no, no. Oppose.
So Caroline Levitt again told Kate in that discussion that the president is laser focused on reducing prices. What do voters say that they believe the tariffs will do to prices?
What do voters believe the tariffs will do to prices? At least in the short term, tariffs will raise prices. Again, what do we get here? 72% of Americans overall say that the prices will go up in the short term. How about among Republicans, the Republican base? This was a shocker to me. 64% of Republicans believe that tariffs will in fact cause prices to go up in the near term. And get this, Just 5%. 5% of Americans overall believe that tariffs, at least in the short term, will bring down prices. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know, Mr. Berman, that 72 beats 5.
So this is a huge move, and it's a huge restructuring of the global economic order. Whether you
This is exactly the reason why I always say Americans don't know what they want. It's not like Trump lied and said, I will never do a tariff. He presented tariffs as his ultimate weapon. He kept repeating over and over again, this is not even a fell for it again award. This is what you wanted. This is what we voted for. And yet, here we are, staring down the barrel of the gun. And so many Americans are going, what the fuck? Please understand that this is the same principle for virtually every kind of policy you can point to. I thought I'd never have to make this point ever again after the abortion debacle, when Republicans went on a tangent talking about how abortion is murder, only to undermine women's bodily autonomy and then subsequently make arguments for murder. Yes, abortion is murder, but in some instances, murder is fine, is what the argument devolved into. Why? Because Republicans, once that freedom was taken away from them, realized quickly, oh, fuck, I wanted that freedom actually. Fuck limiting abortions. I love murder. I want a baby murder. What people think they want in terms of policies is very different once those policies are implemented. Okay? Understand that. This is why I think you just have to be, Hasan, worried about the stock market. This is rich. What? Not my stock market. Hasan, worried about the stock market. This is rich. Wait, what? I don't give a fuck about the stock market. Suck my dick, dumbass. What are you talking about? Do you own any stocks? I have a 401k, which is now a 201k, but I have a 401k that turned into a 401 not so okay. But aside from that, no. I put all my assets in Hawk Tuah coin.
you like it or not, do Americans feel like there should be, or where does this reordering of the global economic order rank for them?
Look at this. Should be a high priority for Trump. Number one, the economy at 82. Number two, inflation, 80. Look at this. Tariffs. 8 out of 8 on the list in terms of things that should be a high priority for Donald Trump at just 30%, 50 points less than inflation. Americans want simply put nothing to do with it, yet Trump decides to keep pushing forward.
Yeah. Right or wrong, I think it is safe to say this is a huge political risk he is taking.
100%. This could be a risk that ends up ending his presidency, in my mind.
All right.
Air Force One moments ago. Let's listen to that.
No, I haven't seen you in a while. 5 million. For 5 million.
Dude, this is amazing. You know what this is? This is like when you fall out of love with your partner and all the little things that they used to do, you no longer appreciate, and it gives you the ick. I suspect a lot of Americans are falling out of love with Donald Trump on this moment. When they think about what he did yesterday to their wallets, him running around and being like, look at my gold card, is not going to be so funny. I don't think America's going to look at him and go, haha, that's my cute president. He's so funny. He's glorious. They won't sit around and saying, based. I think every little thing he does, once the Riz is gone, will be matched against people's 401ks. The very fact that he undermined the entire global marketplace only to go and fuck off and play golf is insane.
$10, this could be yours. That was the first of the cards. You know what that card is?
Gold card.
It's the gold card. The Trump card, gold card.
Who's the first buyer?
Me.
Who's the second?
I don't know, but I'm the first buyer. It'll be out in about less than 2 weeks, probably. Pretty exciting, right?
You ready for some questions?
Anybody want to buy one? Okay, let's go.
First, we'd love to get your reaction, sir, to what's going on in the financial markets today.
Well, I mean, it's to be expected. This is a patient that was very sick. We really inherited a terrible economy, as you know, with a lot of problems, including loss of manufacturing and plants closed up all over the country. You know, we've lost 90,000 plants since NAFTA, if you think of that. 90,000. It's not even believable. And about 6 million jobs. And so it was a sick patient. It went through an operation on Liberation Day. And it's going to be a booming country, a very booming country. It's going to be amazing, actually. And we see it because we have trillions of dollars committed to come in. Trillions.
Sir, can I ask you, when you say that it was an operation and the patient's healthy now, does that mean you see us as kind of towards the high water mark in terms of how high?
Sure. The operation's over, and now we let it settle in. You see the plants are starting to construction already. We have many plants. Indiana, massive auto plant, the Honda, and we have so many plants, and they'll be under construction. And as they start to build,
I like this analogy, and I think it deserves some. I think we need to expand on it. America is a patient that has terminal cancer. Donald Trump went in and chopped the person's leg off and then chopped the person's arm off. And it's like, well, you know, surgery's surgery. That's right. We saved the country. It's crazy. He's like, yep, there's less cancer in the body. Before there was cancer in the legs. At least no more cancer in the legs.
You're going to see a lot of construction jobs, and you're going to see a lot of jobs when they open.
Does that mean chips and pharma tariffs are not on the table?
They're starting very soon. The chips are starting very soon. The pharma
yes, Chad, I'm fucking eating. Sometimes I burp accidentally. Give me a fucking break.
Starting to come in, I think, at a level that you haven't really seen before. We are looking at pharma right now, pharmaceuticals as a separate category. And we'll be announcing that sometime in the near future, not too distant future.
Are you negotiating?
That's under review right now.
Are you negotiating with partners currently?
What we have is we have a set of tariffs based on what they've been charging us. That's reciprocal. And those tariffs have come in, and every country's called us. That's the beauty of what we do. We put ourselves in the driver's seat. If we would have asked some of these countries, most of these countries, to do us a favor, they would have said.
Dude, you're America. What do you mean? You're the United States of America. You could call up every country already without doing this.
No, now they'll do anything for us. But we have tariffs, they've been set, and it's going to make our country very rich.
But are you open to deals with these countries if they're calling you?
Well, it depends. If somebody said that we're going to give you something that's so phenomenal, as long as they're giving us something that's good. For instance, with TikTok as an example, we have a situation with TikTok where China will probably say, we'll approve a deal, but will you do something on the tariff? The tariffs give us great power to negotiate. Always have. I've used them very well in the first administration, as you saw.
You're out of your mind, dude. That's so funny. Yeah. Definitely. I swear to God, if Donald Trump took away TikTok while simultaneously causing hyperinflation, someone would probably do something that I can't say. You understand? Like that it's complete treat annihilation. Can you imagine? Complete and utter treat annihilation. It is literally a genocide on the Treatlerites. Everything sucks, and you can't even watch like funny sketches on your goddamn timeline after a long day. Holy shit.
But now we're taking it to a whole new level because it's a worldwide situation. And it's very exciting to see. And what it's done is driven a lot of great companies to our country. And you're going to see construction starting all over. I already got a couple of calls from Lee Zeldin from Environmental. He's got some big plans to approve. Like really big plans.
How long will it take to get American manufacturing to where you would like to see it?
Well, let's say it's a 2-year process. You know, they start a plant and they're big plants. We're giving them approval to also, in many cases, to build.
What do you mean it's a 2-year process? What the fuck are you talking about? Also, even in his most unrealistic, most positive estimation, it will still take 2 years? That is psychotic. It's not only wrong, but it's funny that this is the best case scenario that he brought forward. Like, he should have just lied and just been like, there's so many empty factories. Why don't we rebuild them into real factories? There's plenty of real estate out there. I love doing deals. I love doing business deals. I'm the fan. Just lie. If you're going to lie, just be like, oh, there's hella fucking empty factories that we should just reopen immediately. You know what I mean? He's not even lying good. God damn.
The electric facility with it. So you have electric generation and the plant, and they're big plants. Now, the good news is a lot of money for them, and they can build them fast, but they're still very big plants. So I'd always say it would take a 1.5 years to 2 years.
Mr. President, I'm curious.
They've already started.
Mr. President, have you been following the New York City mayor's race, and specifically Andrew?
Bro, he's speaking like a man who is not worried about any upcoming elections ever again. He's talking like there's no midterm elections, no general election ever again. You know, it'll take a couple of years.
Cuomo is now the front runner according to the polls. How do you feel about that? Do you think you can have a good relationship with the mayor, Andrew Cuomo?
Well, I've always gotten along with him. We had our ins and outs a little bit. We did a great job for him. Remember, we built the convention center rooms for him. He didn't use them, unfortunately. And we sent the Mercy ship. We sent the really magnificent hospital ship, and they didn't use it. But we always had a pretty good relationship.
You going to make an endorsement in that race?
Well, it's not something I'm thinking about yet. Is he thinking about running? Yeah.
On Russia-Ukraine, there's a Russian envoy in town for some meetings. Can you give us an update on how that's going?
We do. We have an envoy from Russia. We're talking about it. We'd like to see that stop as soon as possible because thousands of people are being killed a week. Soldiers, mostly soldiers, and Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers. And you're losing 2,000, 3,000 sometimes a week. So we're spearheading the drive to get it done. Europe has not been successful in dealing with President Putin, but I think I will be successful.
Sir, can I ask you about the NSC? How many staffers were let go and why? Your National Security Council, how many staffers were let go?
There were some. Always we're going to let go of people that we don't like, or people that we don't think can do the job, or people that may have loyalties to somebody else. You'll always have that.
So you mentioned Netanyahu recently. Israel has now talked about staying in Gaza, doing long-term occupation. Has anything changed in regard to the U.S. Gaza-Israel plans?
I spoke to him today, as a matter of fact. And I think he's going to be coming to our country sometime in the not-too-distant future, maybe next week. And we'll speak about Israel, and we'll speak about what's going on. That's another thing we'd like to get solved. And I think we will get it solved. But I think he very well may be coming.
Who's coming in?
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Sir, can I follow up on your earlier comment about TikTok? You said that the Chinese might be willing to agree to approve that sale in exchange for tariff relief. Is that something that you've floated to them, or you've heard from them? Or
no, I'm just using that as an example. Okay. Let's say we had a problem with TikTok, and let's say China wasn't going to approve. We could use tariffs in order to get it approved.
The deadline is
you give them something in return.
What's the update on the deal negotiations for TikTok?
We're very close to a deal with a very good group of people for TikTok.
Larry Ellison, or is it multiple investors?
Multiple.
And then did the last-minute bids kind of throw things into disarray for you, or do you have your strategy completely locked up on who's going to?
Which last minute?
On acquiring TikTok.
No, I think that China maybe will call and say, well, we're upset with the tariffs, and maybe.
Bro. Oh my God. He's so stupid. Oh my God, he literally thinks he thinks that China's going to be like, oh, Mr. President, you've destroyed us with the tariffs and we don't know how to deal with it. We will give you TikTok. You can have it for free. We'll pay you to have TikTok, Mr. President. Please just lower the tariffs, please. Like, it honestly feels like he's just suggesting that for Xi Jinping to hear. Like, in his mind, it feels like he's saying that so that Xi Jinping will hear and then call him. I don't know if I'm being parasocial or not here, but that's the vibes I'm getting from him.
Maybe they want to get something a little bit in order to get TikTok approved. Who knows?
Is there plans underway to speak to Xi?
I have no knowledge of that, but that's the kind of thing.
On Israel, can you give us any update on the Palestinian relocation plan? Are we talking to any countries?
We're going to try and solve the Gaza problem. It's been a problem for many years, for many, many decades. It's been a big problem. I've met with, as you know, a lot of the hostages. It's a terrible situation. But if you notice, hostages are being released now. And that's happened only since I got involved. So we have hostages being released, quite a few, actually.
Oh, you're still committed to the relocation?
Hopefully, I'd like to get as many hostages as we can. And then Gaza's a very, very important thing. It's been under siege for many, many years. And it's a shame. It's a shame. A lot of people.
By who? By who, big dog? Talk to me. By who? Oh, wow, that's crazy. I can't believe Gaza has been under siege by what, aliens? Who the fuck's doing it?
Die in Gaza. Gaza's been a place we have a lot of people die. A lot of bad things happen in Gaza. We'll see what we can do about it.
The dinner tonight, can you tell us about it? Who's going to be there? Any leaders?
So dinner tonight is sort of I have a couple of them actually, but a lot of it's based around charity. It's at Doral, and we raise a lot of money for charities. We're also having one of the big professional golf tournament there live, and that'll take place over the next few days at Doral from I guess tomorrow till I think they have a pro-am right now, but I'll be speaking tonight. I think I'm making a speech to the players, great players, some of the best players in the world.
Oh my God!
And ultimately, hopefully, the two
Shut the
two
fuck
tours
up
are
about
gonna
golf,
merge.
dude!
I'm involved in that too. But hopefully, we're going to get the two tours to merge. You have the PGA Tour, you have the LIV Tour, and I think having that merge would be a great thing.
Mr. President?
Yes.
About the tariffs, do you have any message for the American businesses that might feel the impact of any reciprocal tariffs coming from the EU, for example, from other countries?
Well, I think it's going to all work out. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build your plant or you build your product, make your product in the U.S. And so a lot of people, I mean, there's going to be a transition period because they're going to be building instead of paying tariffs to some other place. But there are no tariffs. You know, if you think there are no tariffs, all you have to do is make your product in the United States. So it's and a lot of people are doing that.
No.
They're
She got
moving,
used to it.
like the auto companies. I know I spoke to 2 of the 4 or 5 that are really active, and they've already started
This is
moving
the
their
new meta
parts
now.
making
She thinks she runs the show. She thinks she can do this every day now.
Sir, do you have a sense of how long Elon Musk's mission will last and when he will depart?
Well, Elon is fantastic, and I think it's he's a patriot, and I think it's a shame what they're doing with his car company. And a great car. It's a great car, great product, and it tells you what a patriot he is. He's amazing. No, I mean, as long as he'd like, I like smart people, and he's a smart person. I also like him personally. When he endorsed me, that's when I really got to know him. I knew him a little bit before that, but not much, and then he endorsed me. And it was a very strong, embracing endorsement, as we all know. And
everything's Tesla.
I would say Elon will stay for a certain period of time.
Everything's Tesla. Everything's computer. I love Tesla. What are you doing? Oh shit. Uh-oh, she getting up here. Goddamn. She getting on the table. Everything is Tesla.
And then he's going to want to get back to his businesses full time. But he's done a fantastic job. We found hundreds of, think of it, just hundreds of, we found millions of dollars of fraud and abuse and waste. And they're still going, I mean, they're going strong. They found something today that's horrible. It's horrible. So what they found, well, you'll find out very soon. What they found is incredible. And I give him a lot of credit. He's got some very smart people with him.
Do you think he can finish?
And they're working very closely with our secretaries and the people that are the heads of.
Do you think you would appoint him to another position once his 130 days?
Well, I think Elon's great, but he also has a company to run, or a number of companies to run. You know, that he can do this, that he can find the time. He loves the country. That's why he does it. But we're in no rush. But there'll be a point at which time Elon's going to have to leave.
Sir, but hasn't given you a date, a specific date?
I would think a few months.
Even when Elon
She's so heavy, it's crazy.
CEO, will Doge stick around in some kind of capacity?
Yeah, it'll still Doge itself. Yeah. At some point, just so you understand, I don't want to get it wrong. I want Elon to stay as long as possible. Number 1, I like him. Number 2, he's doing a great job. Number 3, he is a patriot. That's why he's doing this. And he's, it's very costly for him. But, so I want him to stay as long as possible. But there'll be a point where he's going to have to leave. And when he does, the secretaries will take totally over, and Doge will stay active. We have a lot of smart people. A lot of those people, I believe, are going to go into the agencies, and they'll work on it from the inside.
You mentioned auto companies that you've been speaking with. Have you spoken to any executives today?
Yeah. I don't want to say who, but I speak to a lot of the auto executives. But we have much more than autos. We have chips coming in. We have steel coming in.
Notice, look, remember what I told you about how he was going to defend Elon? How much does she weigh? Like 120 pounds, I think. It's just too much. I literally can't pick her up anymore. Like, I can't pick her up with ease. I'm telling you right now, you can't tell from just looking on the camera, but she is so insanely heavy. Like when she puts her full weight on me like she's doing right now, she thinks this is appropriate. She thinks she could just do this and get away with it, and it's fine. If she were to do this to an average human being and not one that is like a pretty fairly large guy like myself, she could kill him. Everything is Tesla. I love Tesla.
The steel factories are opening up and expanding at levels that people have not seen. Also,
tell us a little bit about your meeting with Laura Loomer and Mike Waltz today, how that came about.
So Laura Loomer is a very good patriot. She is a very strong person. And I saw her yesterday for a little while. She makes recommendations of things and people. And sometimes I listen to those recommendations like I do with everybody. I listen to everybody and then I make a decision. But I saw her yesterday. She was at the ceremony. And she'll always have something to say, usually very constructive.
No, enough.
What did she recommend?
Enough.
She recommended certain people for jobs.
Adding to the administration, not
adding.
Who did she
not
recommend?
firing?
Well, she'll recommend that too. But yesterday she recommended some people for jobs.
Did she have anything to do with the NSC aides who were ousted?
No, I don't know.
Do you know how many, sir? Do you know how many from the NSC?
Not many.
Was it 5, a dozen?
I really don't know.
Who does Loomer want?
There were a couple that I know.
Who did Laura recommend hiring?
Well, I don't want to say that, but she's recommended some good people over the years. She's been in the party a long time. She's done a good job.
Do you trust your national security staff is doing what you want them to do?
We've done very well. We've had big success with the Houthis, as you probably know.
The Houthis?
Nobody's been able to do it like us. And they were shooting the boats out of the water. They were sinking ships. That's what they want to do. They're getting a big charge out of sinking ships.
It is pretty crazy that this is what she used to look like in comparison to what she looks like now. Genuinely a different dog.
And unfortunately, they're associated with Iran very closely. So they have to stop that, but we've hit them very hard.
They have to stop that. They have to stop being associated with Iran. All right, let's skip the rest of it. Trump confirms Laura Loomer gave her recommendations. I'm sorry, but an administration where people get fired because Laura Loomer doesn't like them is not going to be a stable government. Several members of Trump's embattled National Security Council have been fired over Loomer visit. A U.S. official and a second source familiar tells Axios. That is crazy. We are so cooked. I cannot believe that the most powerful government on the planet, well, I guess the second most powerful government on the planet, is run by a guy who gets his shit sucked off by Laura Loomer and listens to Laura Loomer and will say things like, Laura, she's a free spirit, Laura. She's a free spirit. You can't tamper with it. You can only try and harness it. A fraction of Laura's power will allow you to move mountains. Wait, one of the questions is on Pete Hegseth and the IG investigation. Do you want to comment on that on the Signal app?
This IG investigation, do you want to weigh in on that?
What is it?
There's an IG investigation into the Secretary of Defense's use of the Signal app.
Oh, is that you're bringing that up again? Don't bring that up again. Your editors probably. That's such a wasted story. So what else?
Chinese farmland.
When could that happen?
Don't bring that up again. Who's in your DMs? I don't know. What? What a weird question. Yeah, after 20 days of constant bombing, the Houthis are still able to bring down U.S. drones. Houthis shot down third MQ-9 Reaper drone since March 3rd. Second since March 15th, airstrike campaign began. Another U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone was shot down by the Houthis in Yemen, sources tell Fox News. This is the third MQ... Kaya, come on. You got to get out of here. That's crazy. She's like standing underneath me. Oh. Kaya, please. Come on. Does she know how big she is? No. The first MQ-9 drone was shot down on March 3rd. Days later, where the White House launched its first airstrikes against the Houthis, or also known as the Houthinis, a part of the Yemenis. I'm kidding. Don't say Houthinis or Yemenis, okay? This is not the Brianna Wu broadcast. Generals tell me the Yemenis keep shooting down our Reaper drones, so I asked how many drones we have, and they said they just go to General Atomics and buy more afterwards. So I said it sounds like we're just feeding drones to the Houthis, and SecDef's Hexis started chugging vodka. What is this? Why did you send this to me? This is just some random made up shit. Yeah, $33 million. No, it's more than 17. It's $33 million drones. Please cover the latest developments in the Baldoni Blair White case. What? Blair White? You think you're above drama? You're only worried about macrocosm. Even the microcosm impacts all of us. We are all Blair White? Blair White? What? What is happening? Account created 5 hours ago? Okay, dude. Sorry. Each MQ-9 drone costs about $30 million apiece, according to the Congressional Research Service. The Houthis have shot down at least 13 American drones since the start of the Israel-Hamas conflict in October 2023. A source familiar said that it could be as many as 17 drones that have been shot down since October 2023. Demand for the Reaper drones is at an all-time high, with various U.S. military commanders often told there are not enough for their combatant commands. The loss of the 13 plus MQ-9 Reaper drones totals about $500 million. As of December 2024, U.S. had 230 MQ-9s in its arsenal, a U.S. defense official tells Fox News. So the Houthis have directly hit $500 million worth of drones. Bro, please stop clearing your throat into the mic like that. I'm sorry. It's like twice a minute. I'm sorry. Insane. It's just ridiculous, man. What are we doing here? 41,000 micromanagers in my asshole, dude. Holy fuck. Shut up. Y'all are so annoying. Anyway, billion plus, 1 billion plus in expenditures for Operation Prosperity Guardian on Brandon's side alone. Probably another multiple billion-dollar operation. And in the process, all they do is keep feeding the MQ-9 drones directly to the Yemeni battalions. It's great. Fantastic. Poorest nation on the planet, by the way. U.S. bans government personnel in China from romantic or sexual relations with Chinese citizens. That's crazy. Okay, dude. They quit at that point. You know what I mean? What the fuck is this? You can't even hit up some Chinese honeys? Like, what the fuck? A fella can't do that no more? Eric Swalwell can't get his fuck on? Is that what you're telling me now? I thought this was America, not communist China. Fuck you mean? No Chinese baddies, bro. What are you talking about, bro? What are you saying? This is real fascism, dude. This is real fascism right here. You can't bag a Chinese baddie when you're working at the at the embassy? Wild. Tim Walz is never going back to China, and neither is Eric Swalwell. It's Swallover. Yeah. First, Harry Hasan is canceled for having Riz. Now this, most beta cuck administration in history. Yeah, this is crazy. How will this affect Trump's support from the libertarian guys with Asian wives demographic? Yeah, those libertarian guys with Asian wives usually don't bag a Chinese baddie, though. They go for, like, Filipino wives or wives from Thailand. The Chinese GDP per capita is too high for libertarian guys to secure a baddie. No disrespect to Pinoy Gang, of course. Do they go for ABGs? Yeah, they do. Eric Swalwell is Mr. ABG Hunter. Are you kidding me? Is usually anti-communist Viet women. Oh, that's another one. Yo, that is a lock and a half. Okay, this person has an immediate relative. Spoken like a guy who has a immediate or distant relative. Okay, I forgot about that. You're so right. Wedding endowments in China be going crazy. This is messed up. This is fucking unacceptable, dude. Now the real Ankit ones get a reactionary South Korean. Oh, that's like a Mooney. All right. JD Vance hits back at critics on Liberation Day tariffs. Something has finally shifted. He's going to hit you with a, have you said thank you
Being
once?
told that JD Vance is in position. He's ready to be interviewed by our Lawrence Jones. Lawrence?
Hey, Lawrence. All right, thanks, family. Let's bring in the Vice President Vice President JD Vance. Thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
So the last time we had a one-on-one was in your house. You weren't Vice President. Yeah, right. you were auditioning. You were the only candidate that said if you didn't get selected, you would be disappointed. Well, you got accepted. So congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.
Let's talk about some of the issues that matter to the American people.
Sure.
And it's the president's new tariff policy. And when I think about what he got elected on is to bring the cost down for people, but also bring manufacturing back to the country.
That's right.
These are gonna kind of hit each other, right?
Bro, he really became, in such a short period of time, one of my fucking least favorite Fox News commentators. There's just some about the way he operates that just pisses me off, dude. It is so... He really annoys the fuck out of me, dude. Holy shit. Maybe it's because, like I expect Buttfeld to be a racist piece of shit. Like, he just sucks so bad.
Explain to us how you get manufacturing.
You're just racist? Yeah, that's probably what it is. This is my racism. Bro, yesterday he literally laughed when Brian Kilmeade was like, we're going to run Strom Thurmond's longest running filibuster uninterrupted on the broadcast. And he was like, ha, ha, ha. It's like, dude, that's a segregationist who did a previous record-holding filibuster to stop the Civil Rights Act. Like, what are you talking about? That's funny to you? Like, that dude in front of you is just straight up undermining your fucking humanity, dude. He's just riffing with you on the virtue of civil rights.
Here, but also get the cost down for the American people.
Well, if you go back a little bit, Lawrence, remember during the first Trump administration, everybody said that Trump's tariffs were going to be inflationary back then. What actually happened? We had 1.5% inflation. We had the fastest growing economy in a generation, and we had the beginning of a manufacturing renaissance in the United States of America.
That's a recession indicator. Rappers trying hard to show their red bottoms.
America. Then, of course, we had 4 terrible years of the Biden administration. But I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer is fundamentally it's based on 2 principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity.
Chinese peasants. Dude, my man said Chinese peasants are fucking manufacturing all of our goods. Like that's not even the 2003 meta, okay? That's like 1968 meta, okay? Bro went back to the fucking 80s for that. He's like, there's real motion, there's real friction happening in the People's Republic. It's just that's crazy. The peasants are marching very long distances. We can't have these peasants making our clothing. Like the 2003 meta would be to say like, oh, little Chinese like children working in slave labor like conditions.
It's not a recipe for low prices, and it's not a recipe for good jobs in the United States of America. For 40 years, we have gone down that pathway. We've seen closing factories. We've seen rising inflation. We've seen the cost of housing so high that most Americans can't afford to buy a home right now. President Trump is taking this economy in a different direction. He ran on that, he promised it, and now he's delivering. And yes, this is a big change. I'm not going to shy away from it, but we needed a big change, Lawrence. We cannot keep going down the Joe Biden globalist pathway where we have $2 trillion of peacetime debt and deficits. We have manufacturing disappearing. That is not working for Americans. We've got to take this country in a different direction.
Mr. Vice President, there does seem to be a disconnect. You see Wall Street in the media and the markets, and they're freaking out right now.
Yep.
But then I look at those workers that were in the Rose Garden yesterday, and they're celebrating. I think about all the diners that I've done across the country, and all these businesses saying, we've lost manufacturing here, and they're celebrating the move. What is the disconnect between the market and the people, those workers that are cheering this on right now?
Well, I think on one hand, frankly, a lot of people have gotten rich from American jobs moving overseas, but American workers have not gotten rich. And frankly, American companies have not gotten wealthy from the increasing growth of foreign competitors manufacturing overseas. They, as the president says, Lawrence, these foreign companies, they charge us ridiculous tariffs. They engage in a lot of non-tariff practices like currency manipulation. That has been awful for Main Street in the United States of America. It's meant those diners, their customers don't have jobs anymore. It meant those great steel mills, those great auto plants have closed down and their workers have been laid off.
Dude, you are Peter Thiel's blood boy. What are you talking about? You're in the administration to do the bidding of those parasitic billionaires. I don't understand. I don't understand it. These guys talk about how, previous administrations, they make it seem as though previous administrations at gunpoint forced the beautiful American capitalists to move their manufacturing overseas. You know, that's what we did. Bill Clinton was like at gunpoint. He's like, you got to move. You got to move him away. Like that's what happened. And at every step of the way, these capital owners, the US companies were like, "No, please, Mr. President, no, we can't do it. We love our pure American red-blooded labor force." And they were like, "No, you have to. You have to, or I'll kill you. I'll kill you dead." And they're like, no. Parasitic billionaires takes one to no one. Dude, come on. This guy unironically said, "I'm a billionaire, please." It's true. I am. Thank you, Panna Shaka lad. We can't be banning guys that are that stupid. That's entertainment.
What I saw yesterday in the Rose Garden was incredible enthusiasm because a lot of those workers, they've been working hard for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Young and old were in the Rose Garden yesterday. They've never had a president who stood up for their jobs and stood up for American prosperity. They finally see something has shifted. There were Democrats out there, Republicans. There were union and non-union workers.
The HasanAbi Snark Sub has been talking about your billionaire dad again. No, I know. I saw that yesterday and I could not believe it. These people are so fucking stupid that they got duped into believing that my father is the second richest man in Turkey because of what? A fucking AI article. An AI written article claims that my dad and his net worth is $5 billion and he owns 20,000 like apartments or something. Like, it's just so fucking psychotic. I'm sorry if you get duped by that. There's not much hope, you know what I mean? And I can't even fault you for it, honestly. We got ChatGPT making fucking trade policy right now. So I guess you're no better than the Trump administration in that regard. Yeah. Abi gizli Koç ailesi üyesiysen açıkla bilelim. Evet. Yok, Koç'tan bile fazla parası var diyorlar. 5 milyar dolar diyorlar abi. Murat Ülker. The funniest thing would be if they actually looked up the wealthiest people in Turkey and found out that the second wealthiest guy, the wealthiest Turkish guy is the guy who made Bayraktar. Okay? Erdogan's son-in-law. There's a little bit of corruption there for you. The second wealthiest guy is Murat Ülker. And his name is Murat, who's my brother's name. I worry that they're going to look at that and they're going to think, oh, his brother is the second wealthiest person in Turkey because they're that fucking stupid. It's awesome. It's so dumb. I don't know. I mean, it's like a little discouraging to... It's a little discouraging to realize that like a fairly large, formerly progressive community is that fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes me kind of sad to think about how dumb people have become.
Workers alike, they know this is a big change, but we need a big change in this country because what we've done, what we did under the Biden administration, it just wasn't working.
So, Mr. Vice President, I know a lot of MAGA folks, a lot of Americans that are cheering the president on, especially when he takes it to other countries.
Sure.
They feel like we've been screwed for a long time.
Yep.
But I also know people that come from our background, they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Of course.
And they want to do the patriotic duty of taking it to these other countries, but it's going to hit them a little bit. They feel. What can you tell the American people that they just can't afford an extra $3 here and there about the government making up the difference from that? Will costs go up at some point? Will this just be temporary? Are we talking 3 months or 6 months?
Well, we certainly hear, and I appreciate.
He gets around 35% of the views he used to get. Most of the most dedicated snarkers are Sex Destiny fans wearing H3 issue fandom as a skin suit. Even then, dude, it's like, no, I looked it up. I looked up the fucking background of the guy who posted that. He's just like a super fan. And there were dudes in there who literally were saying that I taught them about oppression because of my own personal experiences, like growing up affluent, and how like growing up affluent, I didn't have to get like direct cash from my parents, and that's not how wealth works. Wealth and privilege works in sometimes invisible ways, like not having to work a job when you go to high school, like, you know. And a person that has heard me explain these sorts of concepts should know better than to be duped by a fucking AI article. But I guess I expect more from people who used to formerly be in this community as well as that one, you know? His brother's a billionaire? No, no one is a fucking billionaire in my family, dude. I'm the fucking richest person in my family. I take care of my whole family. Yeah, I don't think that they're DGG. Their HD's community has completely fucking swapped. Like, I think that they just, the remainder, like super fans, the remainder of the foot soldiers, they just hang on every word that Ethan has, and they don't have like a well-established, firmly held worldview that they maintain. It's just whatever the fuck. Yeah. How do you explain all the YouTube videos that say your dad's a billionaire? I don't know how to explain it. People are fucking stupid. That's it. Do you make your parents pay rent? No. What? It's called lying. But it's like such a funny lie, because what am I supposed to do? Fucking sue someone for defamation for lying about how wealthy my dad is? I mean, do any of those videos have proof? Yeah, the proof is the AI articles, the numerous AI articles that have been written about it. Stop addressing lies. Law is lose-lose. I know. It's also funny because it's like, it's funny because, like, even if he was omega wealthy, what the fuck does that have to do with my commentary? Like, yeah, I'm wealthy. The fuck? You know what I mean? Like, it's just nothing. It's not even a point. Like, it's not like a point to what I'm saying. You want rich people to literally fucking advocate for the things that I'm advocating for. It is pretty funny though, because it's like, it is funny to think, because it's like, not only is it irrelevant, but it's like not even technically not even slander. You know what I mean? Because like slander would have to be something bad, right? Like, how would you even prove that that's defamation in a court setting where you're like, yeah, they're lying about my father being a multi-billionaire? They'd be like, okay, great. That sounds awesome. The judge would be like, that sounds cool. Why would that be an issue? I'm just going to lean into it and be like, yeah, he's